student of Jawaharlal Nehru University, today's session coordinator, and I'm happy to welcome you all to the session A6. It's wonderful to have such a knowledgeable group of scholars and researchers with us. I am sure this session will be filled with great discussion and the session chair. He is a distinguished professor of CSRD, Jawaharlal Nehru University. With his knowledge and experience, this session will surely be insightful and engaging. Now I invite Professor Milap Punia to take over the session. Thank you. Over to you, sir.
Very good morning, all of you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I welcome all the speakers. And we have 5 speakers. I can see right now there are only 2 other than me, and including our main organizer, Dr. Kumar. So I think 3 more to join. Sneha?
Yes, sir.
3 more people need to join?
Yes, sir. They will join between the meeting. While we start the session, they will join.
Okay. So
good morning, sir. I'm here.
So Sneha, you would like to start introduction first?
So you can start with the introduction.
Okay.
So,
So give me a minute, please. Sneha, can you tell me the page number of the session, A6? Sneha.
Page number 9, sir.
Page number 9 of the abstract book. Page number 9 of the abstract book.
No, not
yes.
the abstract book.
So tell me from the abstract book, please.
Okay, just hold on, sir. Sir, abstract book is not arranged in the session wise.
Okay, so how do I do then? Tell me. Where are the list of speakers?
So for the first speaker, in abstract book,
Pull me to the, their biodata. Where is the biodata?
sir.
Hello?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can hear you. Where is the biodata? Where is the brief bio of the speaker?
Sir, it's in page number 21 of the abstract book.
Yeah, that's what I asked. Okay, fine. So we have a first speaker, Dr. Angeliki, Ziaka, and Mr. Ioannis Mylonelis. And they are going to talk about digital humanities and knowledge preservation, the case of the ICE research project. So are they there? Are they around, Dr. Angeliki, Ziaka? Okay. Sneha?
Sir, maybe they will join in between during the session. We can move to the other speaker, sir.
Okay, then let me see. So can I request the speakers to kindly please switch on your videos. To switch on your videos, please. My gentle request to all the speakers to kindly switch on the videos, please. So good morning all from India, and I think there might be a night in the Middle East and other parts of the world except the eastern coast, eastern side of the globe. So we have a speaker right now with us. Okay, so I think let's start with those who are around, right? Rather than waiting for others. A5, session B4, A6. So we don't have Soni Wadhwa, we don't have Chandra Anand. Kumari, we have Kumari and Ube. We have Kumari. Sneha,
Yes, sir.
this is session A6.
Yes, sir.
And
Right.
I'm finding difficult to identify the speakers. You have given a list of 5 speakers, but their name do not, they don't seem.
Sir, I can see. I'm sharing with you. Sir, I can see, ma'am. Yulia Fil, ma'am is here, right, ma'am?
Yes, yes. Good morning. Morning.
And sir, I'm sending you the page number of abstract where ma'am is present. 216, sir.
Just 215.
216, sir.
Hello, good morning.
Very good morning, sir.
Due to the program, to the session A6, I am the co-speaker with Professor Angeliki Ziaka. I am in the
Okay.
first. Do you
You're
want to
welcome.
start?
Yeah, we are looking, we are just about to start, sir. Is kitna hota hai page number?
21 for first
Huh?
speaker.
How
Sir,
many?
for first speaker, we have to go to 21. Abstract book 21. Page
You
number.
page number 21.
Yes, sir. For first speaker.
Yeah, मैं आप ये बड़ा confusing है सारा मामला। पहले आपने कुछ और पेज बताया। So we have Angeliki Jaika.
Sir, we have the co-speaker of Angeliki Jaika, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, so who co-speaker is Ioannis John Mylonelis, right? Very good morning,
Yes,
sir.
yes. Yes, John Mylonelis, Ioannis Mylonelis.
So I would request you to introduce yourself since we have a brief profile of Dr. Jaika. She is a professor of study of religion at Aristotle University, and she is also program executive for Interreligious Dialogue and Cooperation, World Council of Churches. And you both are sharing a paper on digital humanities and knowledge preservation, the case of ICE research project. So I would request John Mylonelis to kindly please briefly introduce yourself.
Okay. Thank you very much. Greetings from Greece. I am Ioannis Mylonelis. I am a PhD candidate in Aristotle University with supervisor Professor Angeliki Ziaka. I'm on the scientific field of study of religions and social and cultural anthropology. And today I'm going to speak a common presentation about digital humanities and knowledge preservation, the case of ICE research project. And now I will share my screen and I will share my PowerPoint of the presentation.
Yeah, welcome. So we have about, say, 12 to 15 minutes for the speaker, and then roughly about 2-3 minutes for the discussion. So you're welcome. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. I will share my PowerPoint. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Everyone? Okay. About the introduction, the title is Digital Humanities and Knowledge of Preservation, the Case of ICE Research Project by Angeliki Ziaka and by me. The evolution of digital technologies in recent years has profoundly reshaped the way that we approach, preserve, and promote cultural heritage. Within this context, digital application and platforms featuring photographic material, videos, soundscapes, mapping, and monument presentations offer innovative ways to access cultural and religious sites while simultaneously strengthening scientific research and educational engagement. The concept of cultural memory plays a central role in the preservation of religious and cultural monuments. Digital technologies present a unique opportunity to safeguard cultural memory, particularly in cases where monuments are at risk of deterioration, destruction, or the passage of time. Through digital visualizations, researchers can document monuments in great detail, creating highly accurate representations of their current state, which can be preserved and reproduced for future and study dissemination. Eastern Thrace and Macedonia, regions in Greece near the borders with Turkey and Bulgaria, Eastern Thrace and Macedonia regions home to significant religious monuments such as churches, mosques, tekes, and turbes represent an exemplary case for the application of digital tools in documenting and promoting religious heritage. These monuments are not only merely architectural landmarks, they also embody cultural and religious narratives linked to the historical communities and constructed the utilization of them. The significance of these religious sites, both as cultural and spiritual heritage, is further through the use of digital platforms which facilitate wider accessibility by making these monuments available to a broader audience via the internet. About the digital multimedia applications in the cultural sector. The digitization of cultural heritage is not merely a matter of technical archiving. It represents an entirely new approach to the management, preservation, and promotion of historical and religious heritage. Digital platforms such as ICE, Innovative Cultural Experiences, integrate advanced tools, including geographic information systems like GIS and Google Maps, high-resolution photography, videos, 3D reconstructions, and soundscapes to present religious monuments with accuracy and detail. The significance of these technologies lies in their ability to allow users to experience these spaces in ways that would not be possible through a conventional physical visit. The program, ICE, the Innovating Cultural Experiences platform, provides high-resolution imaging and virtual tours of religious monuments, ensuring global accessibility to these significant cultural heritage sites. By employing advanced digital documentation techniques, ICE captures the architectural and historical essence of Christian, Jewish, and Muslim places of worship, including churches, mosques, tekkes, and turbes. Through photographic archives, video documentation, and immersive multimedia representations, ICE enable users to explore sacred spaces, offering an in-depth understanding for their historical, spiritual, and cultural significance. This digital approach preserves and enhances access to these monuments, ensuring their appreciation by researchers, educators, and broader public, regardless of geographic limitations. Multimedia plays a crucial role in this digital representation of religious monuments. Through photography, videography, and audio recordings, digital platforms allow users to experience these spaces in a far more immersive and vivid manner. The high-resolution photographs provided by ICE enable users to observe details that may not be immediately visible during a physical visit, such as the fine elements of murals, architectural patterns, and religious artificence housed with a place of worship. Furthermore, videos documenting ritual practices and religious celebrations, for example, in Alevi tekkes, offer a unique perspective of how these spaces are actively used by religious communities. The ICE platform features a rich photographic archive of religious monuments, allowing users to gain a more comprehensive understanding of the day life and cultural significance of these sacred sites. These multimedia representations serve not only as sources of information, but also as means of cultural communication with the public, reinforcing the preservation of religious traditions and fostering broader recognition and understanding. Virtual reality, VR, and augmented reality, AR technologies have opened new pathways for the digital representation of religious monuments. Through these technologies, users can experience a fully immersive interaction, navigating virtually reconstructed spaces or accessing augmented information overlaid onto real-world locations via mobile devices. Although VR and AR technologies offer significant opportunities, their implementation comes with challenges. Developing virtual tour requires a high level of technical expertise and substantial resources. Moreover, accurate representation of religious sites necessitates documentation and collaboration with local stakeholders. Nevertheless, the prospects are promising. The increasing availability of portable devices supporting AR technologies, along with declining cost of VR system, make these technologies more accessible. Future application could include interactive educational experience, virtual guided tours, and augmented information overlays during physical visits to historical and religious sites. The mapping of religious monuments using geographical information systems like GIS and digital mapping tools such as Google Maps has revolutionized the way we document, study, and interpret the location and the significance of sacred sites within the landscapes. GIS technology allows for the precise geolocation of monuments, integrating geospatial data with historical and cultural information. These datasets provide critical insights into the relationship between religious monuments and their surrounding environment, patterns of cultural diffusion, and their connection of local population. This is an example of this work with these all technologies. For example, the ICE platform utilizes geographic data to accelerate map and location of religious monuments in trace, providing users with interactive map that illustrated the geographical connections between these monuments and their surrounding environments. Users can explore these sites digitally while simultaneously gaining access to photographic material, which adds significant depth to their understanding of the space and its cultural importance. The integration of historical cartographic data with modern geographic information allows researchers to analyze changes in the use and the significance of religious monuments over time. For instance, the mapped location of tekes and turbes reveal how the Alevi and Bektasi communities in Western Thrace historically utilize specific geographic areas for their religious rituals, as well as the relationship of these sites with other places of worship and the social structure of local communities. Accurate geographic documentation enhances the understanding of the relationship between religious communities and both natural and cultural landscapes, which is significant for geographic and religious anthropological studies. The use of GIS in documenting religious monuments such as tekes and turbes enable researchers to highlight the connection between these sites and the communities that have historically used them, as well as their role as centers of religious and social activity. Digital documentation of religious artifacts. Sorry, I see the chat something, and yes, of course, I will send. Yes, okay. 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 I am okay with the time. Can you hear me?
Yeah, please go ahead. It's interesting.
Okay, thank you. Digital documentation, as I was saying, digital documentation of religious artifacts serves as a crucial tool for the preservation of cultural and religious heritage. Religious objects such as icons, sacred texts, and ritual artifacts constitute an integral part of religious monuments, reflecting not only spiritual life, but also the cultural and artistic expression of the communities that create them. Digitizing these objects enable their precise documentation and preservation, ensuring their accessibility to a wider audience. The use of 3D scanning technology for the documentation of religious artifacts represents an innovative approach that has transformed the way we manage cultural heritage. Through precision 3D scanning, religious objects can be digitally preserved for future study and conversation. Digital representation allows for the detailed examination of these objects in ways that will be impossible through traditional methods, particularly when dealing with a fragile or deteriorated artifact. About the contribution of multimedia applications. Religious tourism has been a growing trend in recent years, with visitors seeking experience in religious sites and monuments that are connecting to their faith and cultural interests. Digital applications play a crucial role in promoting religious tourism, enabling visitors to prepare for the journey, study, and the sites remotely and gain a deeper understanding of the significance of these monuments before their visit. The ICE platform enhances religious tourism by offering users the opportunity to digitally explore religious monuments, including churches, mosques, teques, and turbes prior to an in-person visit. Also, the contribution of digital technologies to the preservation of religious heritage has proven to be invaluable. Digital tools not only enable the archiving and presentation of for religious monuments, but also serve as vehicles for knowledge dissemination and user engagement. Beyond their significance for scientific research, digital applications play a crucial role in making religious heritage accessible to the broader public. Through interactive platforms such as ICE, users can explore religious monuments that may not be easily accessible or widely known. Also, one of the greatest advantages of digital museums or platforms like ICE is their ability to serve as educational tools. Through interactive exhibitions and multimedia presentations, students and visitors can learn about the history and the significance of religious monuments in ways that would not be possible in a traditional museum setting. Digital platforms play a crucial role in preserving and reinforcing the religious identity of communities associated with heritage monuments. Through digital representation and documentation, communities can maintain their connection to their religious sites even when these are geographically distant or physically inaccessible. This is particularly important for diaspora communities, which can be digital platforms, uh, that they can use digital platforms to preserve their religious identity and maintain a link to their memory and cultural heritage. For Alevi and Bektasi communities, for example, in Eastern Thrace, the digital documentation of their tekes and turbes serve as a vital means of preserving their religious identity. Platforms like ICE provide Alevi and Bektasi communities with the opportunity to explore their religious roots and reconnect with their traditional space, the traditional places of worship. The digital approaches enhance the religious identity and allows future generations to understand their history and religious traditions. Despite the vast potential of digital technologies for preserving and showcasing religious monuments, several changes must be addressed. About the conclusion, I would like I will cut some things from my speech, and I will say that the integration of digital humanities and advanced technological tools in cultural heritage preservation has proven to be transformative. Platforms such as Innovative Cultural Experiences, ICE, provide new ways of documenting, preserving, and interpreting religious and cultural monuments, ensuring that historical narratives remains accessible and engaging for both scholars and general public. By employing GIS mapping, high-resolution imaging, 3D modeling, and multimedia application, ICE has set a precedent in digital heritage documentation particularly in Western Thrace, in Eastern Thrace and Macedonia.
I think, your Mylonelis, you need to conclude and
To close,
give
yes,
the-
I'm finished. Yes, I'm finishing. By adopting methodologies similar to those of ICE, India, for example, can create a comprehensive digital archive of its vast heritage, ensuring that religious and historical monuments remains accessible to researchers, educators, and the public. The use of virtual reality and augmented reality can enable users to experience cultural sites remotely, while 3D modeling and high-resolution imaging can assist in restoration and conservation efforts. Additionally, the multicultural and multi-religious landscape of India, such like that of Eastern Thrace and Macedonia, necessitates sensitive and inclusive documentation. The future of cultural heritage preservation lies in the strategic fusion of digital tools and interdisciplinary research. Platforms like ICE exemplify how digital innovation can safeguard the past while enhancing accessibility for future generations. India, as a global cultural powerhouse, stands to benefit immensely from such technologies, ensuring that its monuments, traditions, and spiritual landscapes remain alive in collective memory for centuries to come. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We would like to go to the second speaker, since we started a little late with hassles. We have Yulia Fil. She holds a PhD in history and is a junior research fellow at Asia Pacific Department at Kremersky Institute of Oriental Studies, National Academy of Science of Ukraine, Kyiv. So we are happy to have Yulia Fil. I request Yulia Fil to kindly start her topic. So you have about, say, 12 to 15 minutes. The first speaker had some advantage. So because of, starting the program. So I request Yulia Fil to please go ahead.
Okay, I will try to be short. Share my presentation.
Yulia is going to talk about rearticulation of Gauḍīya Vaiṣṇava Transcendency from Chaitanya to contemporary Ukraine ISKCON movement.
Yeah. Thank you very much for introduction and for this honor to be the part of GNU initiative. I'm going to talk about so-called transcendency of Gauḍīya Vaishnavism, or we also can tell about otherworldliness of Gauḍīya Vaishnavism in the context of Ukrainian International Society for Krishna's Consciousness. Why I problematize it like this? Because this mood of detachment from civil life, from politics, started to contradict with the war reality in Ukraine. And that's why the war for Ukrainian Vaishnavas become a real challenge. I will make an introduction about my previous researches because it will help to understand the current stage of my research. But in general, why I'm talking about this transcendency of Gauḍīya Vaishnavism, because I observe it in the field work. I saw it from Vaishnavas. They always were trying to detach themselves from any political, any social events. They kind of live in their spiritual reality. And I decided to check whether the traditional Gauḍīya Vaishnava texts really express this mood. So I scanned some of them, like Krishnadasa Kaviraja Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita or text by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, to find where this otherworldliness come from. It's what I'm doing now, but I have to explain to you the whole context of this problematization. About ISKCON in Ukraine, it's the biggest religious organization of Oriental region, of Indian origin in Ukraine. It is represented in all big cities in Ukraine, in all regions, in Crimea as well. And according to the devotees, before the war, before the 2014, we had around 40,000 of devotees in our country. Now, of course, this number decreased because of the war, because a lot of people fled. Also, we have a tendency for growing the members of ISKCON, again, before the war. Here you can see the Navadvipa Mandir, the biggest ISKCON temple in Ukraine, in Kyiv. And here is the altar, the Murti Goranitai in the temple. So why was the challenge for Ukrainian Vaishnavas? I can elaborate much about it, but I guess there are two main challenges for Ukrainian Vaishnavas, which really shook the worldview of Ukrainian Vaishnavas. First challenge is how to reconcile ahimsa and the war, right? How to reconcile the principle of non-violence with the most violent event in the world. And the second challenge is the Russian gurus who reproduce the propagandic Russian narratives and imagine the situation of Ukrainian devotee for whom the teacher is teacher has the highest authority, and they go for support to their teachers, and those teachers just cannot support them. They just tell them that it's Kali Yuga. We have do nothing with it. So because of these challenges, I would say we observe different positions within the Ukrainian ISKCON community. And I want to present you only two of them. They are opposite and they are quite radical, but I want to stress that there are some positions in between. And you will see now the whole difference of this worldview, and you will see how the like current attitude toward the war influence how it differs in Ukrainian community of ISKCON. I call these two positions abstract perspective or abstract position and specific perspective, or Kshatriya position, and you will understand why I call it like this. And if you have the general attitude toward the war, from the abstract perspective, war unavoidable, it's Kali Yuga now, and humans cannot influence the war, devotees cannot influence to the war because of its natural order of time, and it's senseless to be engaged in the war. And only one good thing adherent can do, just to chant the holy name of the god. And this position is quite traditional for Gauḍīya Vaishnavism because Chaitanya teaches that chanting the holy name is the only one possible way to praise God and to act in Kali Yuga. Also, the Russian-Ukraine war sometimes accepted as a fighting of asuras. Like they are providing their dirty atomic fight. We shouldn't involve in it. We shouldn't be the part of it because it's impure thing, and we cannot do nothing with it. But if you look at the Kshatriya perspective, from this perspective, everything looks differently. The Russia-Ukraine war accepted in a moral dimension as the very injustice war which violates the dharma, and one should engage in the war to protect and restore this dharma. When the representatives of this position hear about asuras, they are furious because for them it's kind of moral relativism. For them, it is equation of aggression and the victim. So completely different.
Excuse me, Yulia ma'am. Excuse me.
Yes.
Just sorry to interrupt. Your slides are not moving. If you are ahead of this, then you please use your slides. We can see your slides as you speak. Thank you.
Now it's moving?
No.
Oh my God, why? Sorry. I will try again. Okay. Now it's moving?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's moving now.
Yeah.
Make use of your cursor. Make use of your cursor. Yeah. Make it full screen. Make it a full screen, and then make
Okay.
use of your keyboard.
Yeah, make it full screen. Now, yes, it is visible. Everything is visible, right?
Not so, but you can go ahead. Please go ahead. Make use of your.
I guess I will do like this. Okay.
Yeah. This is fine. Please go ahead.
Yes. So also, if we are talking about ahimsa, we have as well the different interpretation now. From the abstract perspective, ahimsa doesn't permit devotee to kill, so it is kind of natural right for Vaiṣṇava devotee not to go to the war, to avoid of military service. And here I have to stress that ISKCON, according to Ukrainian law, is listed in among the religious organization which has right for alternative military service. But from this Kshatriya perspective, when it's an act of aggression, when it's the question of dharma, of protection dharma, one should fight. The devotee should fight, as Arjuna did, and avoiding from military service from this perspective is viewed as lack of responsibility and not fulfilling one's own duty. Again, you see how differently Ukrainian Vaishnavas see the topic. Here is the statistics of Vaishnavas already died on the war. In general, 146 Vaishnavas serves in armed forces of Ukraine. 160 36 of them are from ISKCON, from International Society of Krishna's Consciousness, and we know for sure about 28 Vaishnavas killed on a war. So some of them voluntarily go to the war, and like we have the unprecedented situation when Gauḍīya Vaiṣṇava adherents fight on a war. When we are talking about the necessity to express the position on a war, we also have here different perspectives. From the abstract perspectives, it's not the business of devotees to talk about the war, to express and state their position, because devotees should provide his or her activity only in spiritual domain. Also, from this perspective, gurus shouldn't make statements about politics. They shouldn't talk about some events of mundane life, mundane world. They have to teach only about spiritual matter, according to abstract perspective. But according to Kshatriya perspective, one should declare its position on war, and it is demanded from the local administration, from the international administration, from governing body commission. All these organs, all these officials of ISKCON, from this Kshatriya perspective, should call spade a spade, should express their position. And also Guru should express their position. If Guru avoid talking about the situation, then it is treated as Guru who lacks the spiritual competency. Again, you see how differently Vaishnavas see it, and I have to say that from the April of 2024, it is prohibited for Ukrainian Vaishnavas to take initiation from Russian gurus, from those gurus who stay in Russia. Actually, it's not about the gurus, Russian gurus who migrated from Russia. And also, the previous year, Ukraine got its first guru who gives initiation. Like before, we didn't have it. So you see that there is a tension between these positions, some tension, but still ISKCON is united in Ukraine. There is no schism, but there is some turbulency among the Ukrainian devotees. And I also want to share with you the results of the small poll we made with our colleagues, small sociological survey to find out how many Vaishnavas accept one position and how many accept other. And we asked 2 questions to Vaishnavas, and I want to stress the second question. Should Ukrainian Vaishnavas restore relationships with the devotees from Russia after the war is over? This question tried to will give us the ability to understand which attitude Vaishnavas have to the war. And what do we have here? We proposed 5 options of answers, and these options correlate with the positions. Like first option, first answer was that we shouldn't take a step forward if the position of Russian Vaishnavas unchanged. Communication with them will be toxic and impossible. So very radical position. Second option of answer was communication with Russian devotee is possible only if they take the responsibility for Russia's crime. So if they atone, we will ready to talk to them as well, quite radical. The third option that Ukrainian Vaishnavas need to communicate with Russian Vaishnavas and try to discuss with them the topic, to try to persuade them that they are wrong. The fourth option was, of course, it's necessary to restore the communication. Yes.
Ma'am, sorry to interrupt, but please conclude. We are running short of time.
Yes, concluding. It is necessary to restore the communication, but both sides should avoid any political issues. And this option kind of correlates with the abstract position, as you guessed. And what do we have here? I don't know whether you see the results. Is it seen on a screen? Okay. I just will say that almost 3/4 of respondents, 73% of respondents took a radical Kshatriya position. Just they ready to communicate with Russian Vaishnavas, but only if they atone, only if they were ready to talk. And there is some percentage of Vaishnavas, 13%, who occupy this abstract position that we shouldn't talk, but avoid any political topics. So you see that every religion denomination during the time has changed. Even some theological moments were rearticulating, and now we see such processes in Ukrainian ISKCON, and now we see that this Kshatriya position, it doesn't dominate, but it's gain new adherence, I would say. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your valuable contribution to the session. I think Milan sir is facing some technical issue, so I'm managing the session right now. Now I request Soni Wadhwa ma'am, who is currently teaching in the Department of Literature and Language at SRM University, Andhra Pradesh. Her digital archive of Sindhi book, PG Sindhi library, is dedicated to post-Asian book history and Sindhi literature based in India. Over to you.
Thank you. Is there a way for me to share the screen? If
Yulia ma'am, kindly stop your screen share. Yulia ma'am.
Yes, sorry. I will do it. How to do it?
Stop sharing.
But I've already done it. Так.
Krishna wants to stay in the meeting.
Oh
The
my
community
God.
wants to stay in
Yeah,
the
I'm sorry, but yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, thank you.
No issue.
Yeah, thank you.
It's always to have the divine among us.
Let it be
All
like
right. All right, fine. So number one, thank you very much for this opportunity to share my work and for this online hospitality. I wish I could be there in person, but thank you so much for accommodating me online. I am going to look at this binary, this false binary that exists in when it comes to tradition. We tend to think of tradition only along certain specific lines, and if we were to work towards preservation of Indian knowledge traditions, then we might want to think or widen our understanding of what tradition is, because tradition and modernity need not be opposites. Okay, they need to be seen on the lines of a spectrum. And if we think of tradition only in terms of certain languages or only in terms of certain time periods, then we are playing the politics of inclusion and exclusion. These are the premises of my presentation. And what I'm saying is that these will also create false divisions between what is Indian and what is not Indian. Just as we cannot say that, gravity is Christian. I mean, gravity is everywhere, right? And gravity is knowledge. Similarly, there are certain ways in which we need to approach the subject of Indian knowledge traditions that can actually leave the field very rich and can, later on contribute to comparative knowledges, just as there is comparative aesthetics. So with that clarified behind, about my premises, let me begin. This is going to be the structure of my talk. I'm going to first of all talk about the situation in India. Then I will talk about what seems like an advantageous position that the West has, simply because, it seems to have experimented with, archiving and preservation for a bit longer than, we are used to in India or in our conception of what Indian digital humanities vis-a-vis Indian knowledge systems could look like. And then I'm going to look at 4 scenarios that we need to keep in mind when we design our own projects. Those lenses are digitality, modernity, post-coloniality, and personal archiving. And I'm speaking from my own experience. So I wish that, or I would like to stress that the entire talk should be, or presentation should be received in that specific context. Now, before I get into the talk per se, what are the, different inspiration points that we have when it comes to preserving Indian knowledge systems or Indian side of the story within digital humanities projects? There are many, but I'm just picking up 2 because I need to pick somewhere, right? One is the concept of, or the project of Vichitra. And second is the project called Pat.ma or Indian Cine.ma. Okay, these are massively successful and probably the most well-known digital humanities projects in India. Vichitra is very well known because it's dedicated to the work of the Indian Nobel laureate Rabindranath Tagore. But it's also partially created because Tagore left massive notes and manuscripts and multiple drafts of the same poem. So the sort of Gitanjali that you see as the Booker-winning artifact, maybe in the West in the printed form, is not the Gitanjali that actually exists, right? So it is fun to see what are the different iterations of the same text. How did he translate himself? How did he retranslate himself? How did he rewrite poetry and all of that? So that in itself is a great universe. And that is what makes Vichitra a very unique project. Similarly, Indian Cine.ma is very rich because it goes back to some old films, and especially the films that are now in public domain. It has processes and systems that allow for annotation, keep them in public domain, make sure information about these things are, relevant. Sometimes you will see some scenes interwoven between the film where, a narrator or a scholar pops up and says something about a particular scene or about a particular film. So these, it's a form of doing commentary on, Indian cinematic aesthetics. Okay, so these are the two projects I wanted to start with. Now let me come to the important part of where West seems to have, or what sort of models seem to have existed in the West and continue to thrive in the West. Again, there are many examples, but I want to start in medias res. I want to start with some examples and then see what sort of patterns are emerging. One of these is, in that long history of archiving, we have Roberto Busa. In fact, any history of digital humanities history, of course, now with AI and all of that, we go to Ada Lovelace and whatnot to, when it comes to talking about artificial intelligence and coding and programming. But digital humanities, the history itself begins with, this lesson, the first lesson in Roberto Busa. Of course, now things are changing and, people are talking about him in a not very flattering light and actually using him to talk about the dubious, roots of digital humanities. But since the purpose of this talk is not to problematize this history of digital humanities in the West, I'm just bringing it up as an example, that this was one of the first examples in which, metadata or arrangement of text was something that became plausible, visible as a project. Okay, and different other projects came out of this imagination. What if you make all the text searchable? What if you make any text accessible? So this was one side of the story. From the very recent 21st century imagination comes Google's massive digitization project, and related to that is not that we have just digitized it and kept, but like Roberto Busa, we are also putting it to great use with the help of Ngram Viewer. I mean, the archive, or sorry, the technology or the platform is so rich that it allows one to look for the evolution, presence, ascension, dissension of certain terms, certain words in the history of maybe say millions of books that Google has digitized, right? So this idea that we can make something accessible, discoverable, reachable is something that the West has sort of worked on very well and even mastered it. The second aspect of these Western perspectives, and I'm only using very well-known examples, is that now that you have this huge corpus, what is it that you would want to do with it? So one very important concept associated, or rather three important concepts are associated with accessibility. So recently in the trend of say linked data and whatnot, people talk about the fact that no information should exist in silos. Okay, they should exist so that they can be discovered by something else. In Wikimedia and the Commons platform, they say an article should not be an orphan, right? It needs to be connected to other articles. No article should exist in isolation. So linked data is the similar concept that associates one item with other items. Similarly, archive.org is this massive open access, public domain oriented platform which looks at making texts available to different people. And Internet Archive has sort of gone one step ahead and looked at and designed a Wayback Machine, because it turns out that on the internet, if we thought something on the internet is forever, we should think again, because probably a web page's average life is 10 to 100 days, not more than that. So Wayback Machine has been, in fact, working on how to keep some very old pages alive, right? So I'm talking about with digitization and accessibility, two kinds of things that the West has done really very well in terms of preservation and in terms of discoverability of knowledge. Now I come to the Indian scenario. What are the different complexities that one associates with these? So I'll first talk about the philosophical angle, and then we will move on to the systemic angle, right? So what makes the Indian scenario, so complex that we cannot move on the trajectory from, say, Roberto Busa kind of work to, Wayback Machine? Our journey or our path is not going to be this simple and this straightforward, okay? This is not to dismiss what has happened in the West. But number one, there are many languages in India, right? Working with these languages itself is a massive project in itself. How do we know that, for example, the materials we have around or in Marathi or in Western parts of the country be, connected to people that read other languages, for example, in the Eastern part of the country? Right? So language is one very huge barrier. The other thing is Geography. How do we know that people in the West will not want to look at the material in the East? I'm talking about East and West as parts of India. Because, and moreover, some languages, for example, the language that I work on, which is Sindhi, is not even a regional language, right? So how do we make these, let's say, Indian knowledge traditions were to be preserved only, in physical format and not in digital format. How do we still make these things accessible? I mean, where would Sindhi materials go? Will they go to, Maharashtra? Will they go to Gujarat? Will they go to Delhi? Or will they come to South, right? The other part is textuality. In India, I mean, in the West, in a way, the understanding of text and textuality is relatively easier to grasp. But in India, when we say writing, let's say a history of writing, it's not that straightforward, because writing is very different from composing. And one of the recent scholars to talk about the idea of writing in India as composition and not the actual act of writing is Tyler Williams, who has written a history of writing in Hindi. That's the name of his book. If all the world were paper, and a history of writing in Hindi. Okay. So this sort of author-centeredness, which has, and it has also been problematized in the West, which exists as a parameter. For example, when you search a catalog, you go by the author, you go by, what type of composition it is. Things become very, very blurry here when we think of designing projects in India. The other issue is that of script. So sometime back, there was this discussion of how there should be one nation and one script kind of program, which means, all languages will be accessible in one script. And that's because there are cases in India where script is such an issue which is filled with tension that people, and Sindhis do say that, Perso-Arabic is not accessible. So let's talk about Devanagari. And then the international diaspora says, Devanagari, where will we learn Devanagari? So we might as well have Sindhi in Roman script, right? So script itself will pose a lot of challenge. How do we, work with languages that do not have script either, right? And even if we were to directly transliterate from one particular script to another, there would be simple issues like, for example, when we say Ahmedabad, okay, Ahmedabad, only an insider would know Ahmedabad means Ahmedabad, but, a project or a machine will not know Ahmedabad is Ahmedabad, right? And this is the research that everyone, people working in NLP and Indian languages have done. I'm just bringing it up over here to talk about the complexities. So similarly, there is this, epistemic violence. I'll come to the challenge of making sense of text through words in the last point, but colonizers' translations are what make certain texts and certain versions of texts very visible. For instance, if you look up Betal Pachisi, the text, what is very likely to show up as a text is Richard Burton's translation of Betal Pachisi, and not, a contemporary understanding of or a translation of the text, right? So the point is, these are the texts that are a lot more in circulation, and we tend to think that this is our history or this is our tradition, whereas, it is a part of the reception of our tradition and not, the tradition per se. So we need to have updated understandings of these texts as well. The second last point is that of access. For example, there are CDACs, right? Center for Development in Advanced Computing, right? These are the places that do a lot of good work, but they do not make their, platform open source, and they do not make the projects that they design are not really very searchable and discoverable. So the question of access gets very, very seriously limited over there. And finally, I have the point that texts, you cannot just make sense of text in India only on the basis of words. So, hey, let's put, like they say in linked data, associate 2 more words with this particular word, and you will have a chain of thought, or you will have a chain of, an idea that can be pursued. Because texts in India have a lived experience component, right? They're used in rituals. There is orality associated with them. So these are the things that will, that are very, very likely to pose challenges at the beginning or even during the designing of any digital humanities project in India. I'll now quickly look at what are the systematic aspects of these complexities that can be found in India. Most important of these is, we think in the West, there is this very fascinating idea that we are curious about this, so let's do it. Okay, we have the skill and the resources to do it, let's do this. But in India, until unless someone says, hey, we don't have, Tagore is our Nobel laureate and we have not preserved his documents. So now we should do it. Now, there is a need for it. So, probably a document like that tends to, get passed after so many years, right? The second challenge is custodianship, right? I mean, Jadavpur is, of course, home to the Vichitra project, but most projects do not have a home, do not have an intellectual home. I hope things are changing now, and I know of such exceptions, but like, for example, NDLI, the home is IIT Kharagpur, right? But, we need to think in terms of what sort of custodianship can we give to such particular projects. And custodianship means long-term care, not just, design this, deploy it, and it's, out of your hands. Okay. The funding in general tends to be contemporary. I'm myself working on a funded project, but it will support me for, say, a few years. But after that, I'll be on my own. If I want that particular repository to be online and alive, I will have to think of other ways to do it. Then there is, of course, needless to say, some sort of ideological usage as well. We want to avenge some wrongs, right? We have certain kinds of agendas which can be so divisive. So these are the ways in which, we need to be very careful before we thinking as to what materials are we trying to preserve and how. And finally, we are operating in silos. The Narayan Guru archive is very different from Gandhi archive, and that in turn is different from Nehru archive, right? But in the West, say, for example, in the US, there is the Founding Fathers archive, right? Which means you go to a certain website and you get information about all the founding fathers and the kinds of documents that they wrote. So we are not thinking in terms of aggregators. There is an aggregator called Europeana, and in fact, I learned about it only last night, which does the job of aggregating archives. And I'm not sure if we have such system other than, going to archive.org, which is again something that I showed earlier. So these were the two sets of challenges I wanted to hint at. And then I would like to move into what are the ways in my experience as, a digital humanist and, an enthusiast of Sindhi studies can, share about how do we address these problems. I'm not sure if I have the answers or one particular language has the answers, but what can be our starting points? So my first lens is that of looking at, say, digitality. And I talk about 3 C's there: creativity, community, and curation. By creativity, I mean because of, the complex nature of the data and the corpus in India, we will not be able to survive only on, say, alphabetical arrangement of information or chronological arrangement of information. We need to think of what are the different interesting entry and exit points for an archive. If you look at, say, Vichitra, what happens is, you have to look at one part, you have to select something and then you get the whole list. Of course, there is search function as well. But if you want to explore what it is, there, that actually increases the number of clicks, not to the point of, making things easier for someone to navigate, but more and more, difficult. And again, it's still, given the kind of funding and given the kind of, resources that they've had, it's still a very, very rich archive. But I'm saying now that we have certain other kinds of advancements in technology and all of that, is there a way to, be very, very creative with the way this information is being, presented? So number 2 is community. What are the different ways in which we build communities? Projects will happen. Let's say, Government of India or anyone else is ready to, pump in crores and crores of rupees into, academia and researchers and independent researchers and say, hey, go ahead and design all of these projects. But the point is, until and unless we have audiences for these projects, we will not be able to, push for them in a great way. So one very interesting, very enthusiastic scope or project that can be seen is, the Hindustani, projects, which is Rekhta, Sufinama, okay, Hindi Kavita. These are the places that have, some decent to massive fan following, which means there are people, there's an audience that these groups have cultivated and Rekha has a very big fest as well, right? So what happens in these places is they are very, very curious about what the community is doing. They look at dictionary, the word of the day and whatnot to celebrate. They also invite meanings and annotations and whatnot from the community members themselves. So that community design has been a wonderful experience, and it is possible through digitality. The third aspect is curation, and now curation just does not mean item of the day or food for the day or quote of the day, but it also means different research questions that can come out of these things. We may know that digitization is one project, but after we digitize, what is going to happen with it is somebody else's headache. But if we think of research questions embedded within the project themselves, it will be, a very fascinating thing. And again, I'm going to use my own examples. My work was in Sindhi literature, and I found that I set out to, discover Sindhi readers and find out what are the things that they find fascinating about Sindhi literature. And then I realized, my goodness, there are no readers. Why are there no readers? Because there are no sources. And why are there no sources? Because, people do not know where to look for this kind of information, right? So that was how PG Sindhi Library was born. And out of that was born, Sindhi Halchal Archive. I'll talk a little bit more about these things, but I'm saying, both the archives came with a very specific agenda of, looking at history of Sindhi print and publication in India, Sindhi as a post-partition literature in India, and book history of Sindhi in India. So these are very strong questions or clear questions that both these archives are embedded in. I'm just saying that these archives are very strongly anchored in certain practices. The lens number 2 that I want to talk about is modernity. And I want to, make a very, very simple statement over here. The tradition is not just anchored in ancient past or medieval past. You don't have to look at something very remote in time to say that let's, make it a part of a digital humanities project in IKS. It is also a process of the identification. Yeah.
Ma'am, sorry to interrupt, but we need to conclude, ma'am. We are running short of time.
Oh, not a problem. So what I'm trying to say is that we do not need to, base our understanding on a very false premise of this is modern and this is not modern and this is Indian and this is not Indian. So, maybe we will talk about the other two lenses in the, Q&A if there is curiosity about this. But what I want to say is that if we are ready to think of IKS as a research practice and not just as a book chapter or an article, then I think we will, do good justice to the idea of IKS and, by rethinking what tradition means in this particular context. We need money, we need technology, but we also need enthusiasm. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Wadhwa. I think very interesting 3 talks we have finished. And I would like audience to engage in some question answer if they have. The first speaker was John Mylonelis. Second was Yulia Fil. Somehow we lost the connection in between. And then Dr. Soni Wadhwa, he talked about rethinking tradition in Indian knowledge tradition. And very interesting to listen to Yulia Fil about from Chaitanya to contemporary ISKCON movement in Ukraine. So from audience, if there are some questions, some very brief questions, I think it will be good to discuss. I know it's difficult to engage and interact on online platforms, and we have many restrictions and limitations. So please pose your questions if anybody has. Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. If there are no questions, I will very briefly, I like John Millionaire's presentation about digital humanities and knowledge, preservation, where they have made use of a technology along with also getting knowledge created out of their traditions and culture, mixing it with spatially virtual reality, making use of advanced technologies like geographical information system, and making it available to the people in order to make use of it for knowledge preservation. So thank you, sir. And Yulia, we would like to have a long-lasting peace for Ukraine. I initially enjoyed your lecture from Chaitanya to contemporary ISKCON movement. Thank you very much for engaging with us. If from audience, is there any question to Yulia?
Excuse me, sir. Sir,
Yeah,
we have
please.
two more speakers to speak upon.
Yeah, I know.
Sir,
But
Chandra Anand.
yeah, we have two more speakers. I know, Chandra Anand ji and Radhika Deshpande and Gauri Aradhya. So we have a time. We 11:21. We have around 40 minutes with us. So we will give them 15 minutes each.
Okay, fine, sir.
And I think it was very interesting to listen to Dr. Soni Wadhwa ji talking about systemic complexities and various lenses from digitality to the modernity. I think she has more to talk about, but we have a limitation of time. So let's move to the next speaker. So we have next speaker, Mrs. Chandra Anand, and she is a Mumbai-based Bharatanatyam dancer, author, and a reviewer. So I invite Madam. She's also she's writing a column for Narthaki.com. She has been a dance reviewer since 2015, recognized as a Singhara Mani by Sur Sangha Samsat. She received National Scholarship for Bharatanatyam from Ministry of Culture. Madam, welcome to you. You have about 15 minutes to finish.
Yes. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Namaskarams to all. Thank you for giving this opportunity to read a paper. It's a very lovely topic. I'm overwhelmed with it, and I hope I to regale you the next 15 minutes with the PPT support. Where will it go down? Screen. Reimagining and reclaiming the knowledge under the subtopic of transmission and adaptation of philosophical ideas. I would like to say that yoga philosophy has been adapted in the Bharatanatyam dance form. In fact, any Indian dance form, but being a Bharatanatyam dancer, I'm using Bharatanatyam to explain it. And yoga principles applied in Jatiswaram. If Jatiswaram is a small item in the Margam presentation of the Bharatanatyam repertoire. Philosophy is a subject that encompasses every aspect of our life. But when it comes to performing arts, it gives a spiritual aspect to it. Bharatanatyam has a strong ideology in its Margam presentation. It has been codified by the Tanjore Quartet, 19th century, 1864. And it has been described by T. Balasaraswati as an artistic yoga for the spiritual expression through the corporeal. No, it's the through the spiritual means it's expression of the spirit, pure spirit, through by using this body as its instrument. Yoga philosophy has been the Indian classical dance has adapted techniques of your discipline of yoga for doing meditation in its performance design. Now, yoga's practical training has 8 limbs: yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. Now, how these work in dance is what we're going to see. Yama and niyama are internal aspects, and the requisite is that only a good person with good character can practice yoga. But Bharatanatyam has the capability and all possibility to transformation of the individual. Asana. Asana of Bharatanatyam is Arimandi, the principal stance of the dancer, encloses the body into an imaginary cube. A photo is given, allowing it to get hold of the vertical line on which the chakras lie. This is the yogic stance of Bharatanatyam. In the Aramandi stance, the various movements of the major limbs and the minor limbs activate the chakras, and the coiled energies of Ida and Pingala energy channels in the body are released. Like Padmasana, the stance also holds itself in triangles, and energies released are locked into the body and empowers the soul for spiritual expression. Chakra activation, when the legs are moved, they activate Muladhara Chakra, Swadhisthana Chakra, and Manipura Chakra. Manipura Chakra is normally held at its core in even exercises and other dance forms. The movements of the hand helps the Anahata Chakra. The movements of the neck help the Vishuddhi Chakra. The movements, eyes, eyebrows, other facial expressions help the Agnya Chakra and Sahasrara Chakra. In fact, the Sahasrara Chakra is fully active when thoughts and feelings are expressed. Next, we move on to Pranayama. Pranayama is to regulate the breath. The prana, the life particle, is also supposed to be on the line of breath. With good pranayama, the dance movements seem relaxed, and we also need pranayama to do abhinaya. In pratyahara, during dancing, all senses are put to use together. So withdrawal from the other thoughts is made easy. Now dharana comes next, the fixed attention of the mind. Is dharana is augmented by the motto yato hasta tato drishti, yato drishti tato manaha tato bhava, and yato bhava tato rasa. Now dhyana is to focus on doing nritya, to contemplate, to focus in a place, to do nritya. Samadhi, which we say meditative trance, is when the dancer is deep into doing required action to project an idea. She's already practiced enough that there's a let go quality that accentuates the performance. How these function how these 8 limbs of yoga function in the Nritya piece of Jatiswaram, we will see now. First, let us learn the technical aspects of Jatiswaram. There's a structure of Jatiswaram. This item is at least 8 minutes. This Jatiswaram format consists of 1 Jati and 6 Kovais. These are Nritta pieces. These Nritta pieces have an arrangement of 2 sets of combined dance patterns and 1 Tirmanam Adavu pattern. The first combined set dance pattern covers the cube with movements, and each of the piece of the working of this dance pattern varies. Second combined Adavu affirms the body to the gravitational pull of the earth. And the Tirmana Madavu, which ends the Nritta piece, is where the body is at play, thus activating all the chakras, propelling the energies of the body upward. Now we have to see the aesthetic aspect. These Nritta pieces are smartened by aesthetics of choreography and performance. The movements of the right side are done and then repeated on the left side. And then the symmetry of the body movements from the central line is very well clear and maintained. The symmetry, the gravitational pull is maintained. The item is set to 3 rhythmic cycles in each unit. There are interludes between these Nritta pieces where the Pallavi is sung and wherein the dancer moves to the right and moves to the left in Varna Avartana. That is 1 tal, 1 cycle of tal, and makes culture cue poses in another Avartana, or like this, or like that, all finishing in angles. Now, the spiritual input of Jatiswaram is, in Jatiswaram is the second item of the Marga, and here the energies of the pure soul is built up and the yantra for Rasa Utpatti is ready. Jatiswaram has also the capability to get the audience energized, relax sans worldly baggage, and to be in step with ideas presented by the artist. So when pure souls in their purity and true nature interact, it's a beautiful moment, bliss. Presenting Vasanta Jatiswaram. Now this Vasanta Jatiswaram is one I learned in my second year, my beginner course of Bharatanatyam. And this has been taught by my teacher who learned it from her grandfather. My teacher herself, late teacher, should be 103 years old by this year. So the first jati, the function of first jati is such, the Adavu is made brisk, that looks like getting the attention of soul to get going, to energize itself. The dance pattern in the first korvai, that was a jati, this is the first korvai. The dance pattern marks the central lines of the cube. The plus sign is made on the floor while moving, like that. I hope the audio is visible of the music. The second korvai, the combined dance pattern, sculpts the interior of the cube with arcs and chord. Please remember, the second combined Adavu helps affirm to the gravitational pull of the earth, and the Tirmanam Adavu, that is the third set of pattern, they are repeated in threes. That helps push the chakras faster. And in the third korvai, the first combined Adavu marks the circumference of the lower plane of the cube. It is done sitting in the Muru Mandi. And the fourth korvai, the combined Adavus mark the diagonal lines in the cube.
Madam, is there any music with this? Because we can hear
Yes,
the
yes.
steps. We can hear the steps movement, but no music.
Okay. Push, stop it, yeah. Stop it. Make it smaller. Okay. I don't know why the audio is not heard. I can hear it. Audio mute to नहीं किया? Mute to नहीं किया ना? नहीं. Check the audio now. Share computer sample.
Okay, please go ahead, man.
Okay.
Because we have to conclude. You have 3 more minutes left. I'm sorry.
Yes. Okay, we will stop the dance. We will go fifth korvai. No, we can't show the dance. The sixth Korva, the Adavas are reiterated all over the world. Basically, the first Adavu covers the area, and this when the Tirmanam Adavu is done, when this one is done, it goes. Take out the next line. No, don't show the dance. So now there's a strong. It is said that when the energies are channelized, they bring out, they help spiritual expression. And finally, there's a strong ideology in this darshana that in it, in Margam presentation, which has 8 items. And I would think it's becoming a mini darshana. 2 entities are there, Jivatma and Paramatma. Jivatma seeking to retain and sustain the pure nature of the soul to nritta and then expressing itself. Jivatma seeking union with Paramatma is normally the idea of all the presentations, and they pass through the purusharthas with right action, right knowledge that brings moksha, as the creative world is microcosm of the created world. The result is a sentiment of a universalized truth through entertainment, transformation for betterment of life. It also, the aesthetic expression goes through logical meaning, logical analysis, and before presentation, and it synchronizes the 9 realities of the in his presentation through the body and the other things. And the result is sentiment of a universalized truth through entertainment, transformation for betterment of life on earth. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much for bringing so many dynamics of Bharatanatyam. So, are there any questions to Mrs. Chandra Anand ji? Madam, we would have loved to, hear your lecture and the performances in person, but this is online mode. So
No, this is it's a
Yeah.
short presentation of 15 minutes. Actually, I made it only for 15 and I was offered only 15.
Thank
And
you,
sorry
ma'am.
for the music hitch.
No, it's okay.
I
So
have a
we
question.
have, yeah, please go ahead. Sorry.
May I?
Yeah, please.
She mentioned something like a chord. Could you explain that phrase in terms of movement? A chord? What is a chord in movement?
Sorry, it was a chord. Means it's like this Brahmari movement. You're a dancer, you know it. I was listening to your
Yeah, I don't know.
lesson yesterday. Yeah, there is this chord Brahmari movement, Tattaita, dittaita, tattaita, dittaita. So it actually cuts only half or 3/4 of a chord, but somehow the girl was little. She didn't understand that when I was telling her. So she has moved more than almost a full circle with the Brahmari. But when I dance, it's just a chord. I cut short like that. I mean, now I have to stand and show you.
Is this a word from Laban analysis?
What is analysis?
Is this Laban analysis that you are using to say the word chord?
Chord. No, I mean geometric, CHORD chord in the plane, chord in the lower plane, upper plane. It was all geometric, arcs, lines. The plus sign is made of lines, the diagonal lines, totally geometric.
Thank you.
Thank you, Utraji.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. So we have last two speakers, Radhika Deshpande and Gauri Aradhya. They're going to talk about encoding techniques in Chandaha Shastra. And they both are pursuing their PhD program from Savitribai Phule University, Vedanta Savitribai Phule University, Pune. And, okay, so over to you. You have around full 20 minutes. Then we will have a brief discussion if there are any questions. Please go ahead.
Yes, thank you, sir. The title of the paper is Encoding Techniques in Chandas Shastra, a search into ancient Indian cryptography. As a language, Sanskrit is renowned for its precision, structure, and ability to convey profound concepts in a concise and poetic form. In this sense, Sanskrit represents a linguistic and intellectual tradition that offers significant insights into areas like information encoding, mathematical formulation, and cryptography. To administer its most discussed feature of brevity, that is Laghava, various ancient scholars such as Panini, Pingala, Aryabhatta, Vatsyayana have employed or mentioned various techniques in their respective shastras such as Bhuta Sankhya, Katapayadi system, Mlepchita Vikalpa, Gudalekya, etc. The tradition of Chandas Shastra has also developed some such cryptographic techniques, but may have escaped attention of scholars. This paper attempts to encapsulate the extent of such metalinguistic techniques employed in the doctrine of Chandas Shastra. The texts consulted are here on the screen. The objectives of the research are to record encoding techniques of Chandas Shastra, and the study employs a blended approach integrating analytical, comparative, and historical methods. Now, we'll move towards the brief analysis of texts. First one is Chandas Sutra. It is the earliest comprehensive treatise on prosody composed by Pingala. He mainly furnishes the classification of Vedic meters. Therefore, it is considered as the prominent text of Chandas, one of the six Vedangas. Pingala commences his work with the Sutra Di Shri Strim, in which the first word Di, denoting its literal meaning as intelligence, Shri as prosperity, and Stri as creativity. Thus, it is a symbolic Mangalacharan that states metrical term for triplet of all Guru Varnas. He establishes 8 Saudnyas for the purpose of scanning a metrical line, which are later called as Ganas. Pingala defines the exact position of Guru and Lagu syllables and the name of that particular Gana using only single units. For example, the Shri Strim indicates Ma Gana and which consists of 3 Gurus. He uses the abbreviated forms which are Ga and La to indicate Guru and Lagu syllable. Therefore, he could state the rule that the last Lagu syllable will be considered as Guru in just a single word Gante. Sutras like Dhradiparaha and He need commentarial help due to its brevity. In Dhradiparaha, Dra being the combination of the and Ra represents all the conjunct consonants, and the Sutra He denotes 2 matras and define that the syllables having 2 matras are to be considered as Guru. Rule Lav Saha adds special sense as it contains word Saha, which has 2 meanings. It can be taken as Sanskrit pronoun that and construed as Sahaguruhu as suggested by commentary, and it can also be considered as later having Visarga that denotes a Guru Varna as perceived by the authors. Then Sutra will mean 2 Lagus are equal to 1 Guru. While using word numerals, Pingala uses 2 variations. In sutras like Gayatrya Vasavaha, he uses Bhuta Sankhya to indicate numbers. And Sutra Vaitāliyam Dviswaraha Ayukpade Yug Vasavon Terilgaha. He uses word Yug to denote number 2. Thus, the entire sutra indicates number 16, which can be obtained by multiplying number 8 by 2. Also, in description of Laukika meters, Pingala employs Bhuta Sankhya to indicate Yati. To define meters not having number of syllables in multiples of 3, Pingala uses the name of the triplet and then adds long or short syllables to it. Next text is Janashrayi Chando Vichiti. Although the author of this text is Janashraya, Janashrayi is said to be one among many schools of Sanskrit prosody, and it has become obsolete at present. Principal difference between Janashrayi and Pingala Chandas Sutra lies in the division of Ganas. Janashraya has used 18 quantities or group of syllables containing 2 to 6 syllables, which are displayed on the screen. The first vowel or the last consonant of each of the sutra separately form their Saudnya. Sutra Swaraihi Sanaihi has been explained to interpret Yati. Whenever there is a vowel combined with consonant Na, the serial number of that vowel will be the place of Yati. Here, he adopts the technique of assigning numbers to alphabets like Katapayadi system. Wherever a Nakara occurs Along with half consonant n, it means the same number is repeated for yati. Therefore, nun stands for U is the fifth syllable. Hence, the first yati is at fifth syllable and na added at the end indicates that yet another yati will occur after fifth position after first yati. If compared with the style of Chandas Sutra and other similar treatises, Janashri has the smallest and yet all-encompassing lakshanas of meters. By eliminating commonly used Rika technique, the treatise has avoided the issue of remaining hanging letters at the end of meter and thus does not employ go la in the definition of meters. Formulae expressing the Lagu Guru design of any meter and the method of their formation lack uniformity. Amul is the formula for a meter called Lalita. Amul stands for A and Ma represent Taratim and U and La indicate Kurutel. Hence, the same quantities are used consecutively, but the Saudnyas used for both of them are different. However, these formulae are not easily pronunciable. For example, Bhujanga Prayatam Grung Grung Nu. Therefore, they lack mnemonic value. This might be the strongest reason why this school of prosody became obsolete. Next text is Jayadeva Chandas. Though Jayadeva follows Pingala in many ways, the technique used to deliver the entire design of Ganas stands uniquely in this text. The sutra says, Sarvadi Madhyantaglau Trikau Mnau Bhyau Jrau Stau. It means the Ganas have lagus and gurus at all places, at first, middle, and at the last place, respectively. For the sutra, Matriko Luju, we have to take resort to the commentary for comprehending cryptographs employed. However, commentary on this sutra does not specify that Lagu is defined as having one matra. Therefore, the readers are supposed to closely observe the case and number employed for the word Matrika and also Prakruti Pratyaya combination occurring in the word. Jaideva uses word numerals like Samudra and Loka and employs their instrumental case to denote the number of syllables in each of the quarter of meters. It seems that Jayadeva is trying to set a formula by repeating certain word numerals and define the number of syllables in each quarters using only those handful of word numerals to achieve brevity. Sutra Vasvoho Prathamadidhamni Inena Ushnik Purah Kakup Parebhyaha is an epitome of the illustrious technique used by Jayadeva to attain brevity. Word Vasu stands for two quarters having 8 syllables. Prathamadidhamni stands for at the place of first, second, or third quarter. Inena means having 12 syllables. Words Pura Kakup Para act as suffixes to name of meter Ushnik that form 3 meters, namely Pura Ushnik, Kakub Ushnik, and Para Ushnik. Jayadeva chose to define the number of syllables in all of the 3 quarters of all the 3 metrical variations by single sutra. The sutra contains word Ushnik only once, and Pura Kakub Parebhyaha with instrumental case ending were put together. However, word Prathamadi might be undecided if the learner does not know how many quarters are there in the meter Ushnik. He tends to avoid repetition of certain metrical patterns and uses the words like Purvokta Lakshanika, Purva Samam, Purva Samyat, etc. He has also created some compounds that can qualify as metrical terminology. Some of the examples are the word Sodadila, which means with Udadi and La. Udadi is 4 and La is Lagu. Thus, Sodadila equals to 4 Lagus. Now, next text is Vrutta Ratnakara. Vrutta Ratnakara by Kedara Bhatta is one of the most popular and commonly used treatises on Sanskrit prosody. Instead of providing sutras for 8 triplets, Kedar provides constructional details. For example, Sarva Gurumo, when all syllables are gurus, then it is called as Magana, and so on. Although he has composed the treatise in verse form, he adopts certain sutras within the verses. The use of ablative case endings directs the sequential ganas For example, Manavakam Bhattalagaha, the metrical arrangement of Manavaka meter is explained as Tagana, Lagu, and Guru preceded by Bhagana. To indicate Yati, most of the time Kedar uses word numerals, and it is noteworthy that he uses multiple words to show same numbers. For example, to denote number 7, he applies the words like Loka, Swara, Muni, Haya, and Aga. The definition and illustration of each meter is itself composed in that particular example of meter like Jayadeva Chandas. Next text is Chandonu Shasana of Hemachandra. With his own commentary, Chandas Chudamani, Chandonu Shasana of Hemachandra holds greater importance for including Prakrut meters along with Sanskrit meters. Although the treatise is entirely written in sutra style, the techniques used here do not stand unique as many sutras are exactly the same as previously analyzed treatises. He distinguishes Varnagana and Matragana. He has given the Matraganas in a systematic manner. There are terms the, ta, cha, pa, and sha for ganas having dvi, tri, chatuh, pancha, shat matras respectively. Although the treatise exercises sutra technique, the sutras are quite elaborate and hence self-explanatory. The commentary thus concentrates on giving the appropriate examples for whatever explained by the sutra. Hemachandra uses combination of styles of Pingala and Janashraya to define any meter. For example, Gir Vidyunmala. G is Guru and E is the fourth vowel in the order. That means in meter Vidyunmala, 4 Guru syllables make 1/4 of the verse. Hence, he told both the structure and the yati of the meter only by using words Gi and Gi. Similarly, formula Tradigadi is applied to define yati. In Sutra Bdhaul Gau Manavakam Ghaihi. While ganas are stated in nominative case, instrumental case is employed to show yati. The last text is Ratna Manjusha. It is a work on Sanskrit meters written by Jain author whose name and personal information are wholly unknown. The author of the text retained Pingala Strika system but follows Janashraya while symbolizing them. Ratna Manjusha also mentions 4 duplets embedded in those strikas by using only first 2 letters. The author employs the and its forms like the, da, the, etc. to state number of letters in each quarter of the meter, to indicate yati, and also to indicate placement of syllables in the whole structure of meter. For example, Pade Gayatri Du Akshara. Here, Du indicates number 6, and thus the meaning of the sutra will be considered as meter Gayatri has 6 syllables in each pada. The author indicates Payuganas through the single word having just 3 complete letters. Sutra Yishruni shows Yagana, Egana, Shagana, Rugana, and Na is Lagu and Egana. The sutras are pronunciable and hence have mnemonic value. For example, Rukmavati Lele. Here are some observations on treatment of Matra Vruttas in each treatise. As a prototype, Pingala picks Arya and defines all the other vruttas by stating addition or omission of number of matras in the model. However, he retains brevity of sutras. Jayadeva and Kedara give elaborate account of all the details in Arya without maintaining brevity. Hemachandra, Janashraya and Kedara follow Pingala by making Arya as prototype. Janashraya defines Matra Vruttas using his exclusive algorithmic ganas without stating directly the number of matras in the meter. Ratna Manjusha explains these meters using its own unique method similar to that of Janashraya. Uh, next, uh, Next is encoding techniques and Chandodnyanam. Chandodnyanam is a tool developed by Rushikesh Terdalkar at IIT Kanpur that helps identify the meter of given verse and also provides Gana-wise detailed analysis of the same. The authors tried to obtain results for verse composed in Arya, which is a Matra Vrutta, but the tool could not identify the meter as it works only on Gana system and Varna Vrutta. Being a fixed pattern.
You have last 4 minutes to conclude.
Yes, sir. Therefore, the authors would like to propose that the detailed study of encoding techniques developed by Chando Vichiti and Ratnamanjusha should be carried out from the viewpoint of computational linguistics. Now, concluding remarks. Chandas Sutra is the earliest comprehensive treatise on prosody. All the succeeding metricians follow him in many ways, such as chapter-wise distribution of content, prosodical terminologies, use of word numerals, etc. Each treatise has its own technique, hence thorough study of one treatise does not help to decode remaining corpus. Chandas Sutra established the system of 8 trikas, and Jayadeva Chandas and Vrittaratnakara follow exactly the same method. Chandonushasana further adds Matra Ganas to the previously existing system. However, Janashrayi and Ratnamanjusha have developed altogether different techniques to encode the metrical structure. Although trikas are well established and widely referred even today, these formulae are not sufficient to accommodate the meters not having number of syllables in multiple of 3. To complete their definition, this system needs to state remaining letters separately. Moreover, triplets have their own limitations while dealing with matra vrittas. Janashrayi and Ratnamanjusha, on the other hand, have initiated algorithmic patterns to fit any given meter irrespective of their number of letters, as well as it has capacity to include matra vrittas. Pingala initiated prosodical terminologies and later metricians except for Janashraya, Hemachandra and author of Ratnamanjusha followed him. Therefore, it can be stated that different prosodical schools having their own ciphers existed in past, but only Pingala's school survived, as it was the principal text of Chandas, auxiliary of Vedas, and was simple to decode. The codes generated to show sequence of Lagu Gurus in meters mostly do not form meaningful words and have somewhat unusual and difficult pronunciations, which is the perceived limitation in oral transmission of the text. Hence, the techniques are merely encoding techniques and do not represent the mnemonic feature. Pingala was pioneer in employing fully developed system of word numerals. Jayadeva Chandas also adopts the same technique. Both of them use very limited vocabulary. The earliest text Chandas Sutra uses simple formulae and simplified techniques as compared to the later text. Janashraya and Ratnamanjusha employ a complex system which cannot be decoded without commentarial help. Jayadeva Chandas and Chandonushasana do not deviate from traditional path shown by Pingala and also introduce new practices of encoding. As against sutra style of all the aforementioned treatises, Vrittaratnakara adopts verse form which makes it explicit, hence easy to understand. Thus, it can be stated that sutra treatises developed as canonical texts of Chandas Shastra, whereas Vrittaratnakara was intended to guide learners rather than composers. Upon chronological analysis, the gradual development of these encoding techniques and increased complexity can be perceived through the later treatises. Although obsolete, schools like Janashri can be revisited to develop more advanced tools like Chandodnyanam. As against the doctrines of Paniniya grammar and mathematics, the Chandas Shastric apparatus of knowledge encoding have not been discussed at length. Thus, it can be newly emerging research field not only for Sanskrit scholars but also for computational linguistics. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So we are in the concluding part of this online session. All 4 papers were presented and very nicely presented, very informative and knowledgeable, ranging from digital humanities to rearticulation of Gauḍīya Vaiṣṇava, and then Dr. Soni's presentation on rethinking the traditional Indian knowledge with digital humanities, and Mr. Chandra Anand presented brought yoga philosophy adapted in Bharatanatyam, and finally Radhika Deshpande and Gauri brought encoding techniques in Chandra Shastra. So if there are any queries to speakers or some discussion that participants they want to have. I really I summarize the first three lectures in the middle of presentations after three presentations. So John Mylonelis brought very interesting integration of a technology and digital humanities for knowledge preservation. I especially liked how they integrated high-end technology of geographical information systems, virtual reality, and made it very interactive for the users. I don't want to get much more in between. If there are some pressing questions, please do ask. From the audience, participants. So if there are no questions, then I would like to thank all the speakers for sparing your time, your valuable time, coming online from different time zones and making it very interesting. This cultural traditions across the globe and especially bringing the Indian aspect to it, it makes it more interesting. And many of these things we could have enjoyed more if it would have been offline mode. But still, this was very informative. I thank again all the speakers and also, Miss Sneha Kumari, who helped me to moderate the session. So if there are no questions, then we close the session.
Sir, sir, we need to capture the screenshot of the session. So I request everyone to please turn on your camera.
What happened? Click to exit full screen. What happened?
Sir, what I want to mention here. So as we are ending this full session, I would like to express my gratitude to Professor Milap Punia, sir, for chairing this session. Appreciate your time and expertise. A big thank you to all the presenters and participants for sharing their ideas, thought-provoking discussion, and making this session engaging and meaningful. Your contribution have made this session both productive and meaningful. Thank you once again. Namaskar.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.